Hopefully held for you, not against you. All right, folks, let's practice. Today's subject, this month's subject, grounding. So let's practice some grounding. I'm going to remove my watch, take a sip of water, start to move your body there a little bit. All right. Different concepts and ideas with grounding. We've covered many of them over the years. Been in Wilmington now for about 5 years teaching you all. Prior to that, I was in Asheville for 2 years teaching. Prior to that, some of you who are literally on the computer here today, Sarka, I see there, have been training with me from Boulder, Colorado. And I was there for 18 or 20 years. So I taught all around the country. DC, can you let Taylor in? DC to California to Colorado, down to trainings in New Mexico. Can you close that for me? Actually, thank you, Taylor. Welcome. And let's see, we've been to Washington, DC. We've been to Tampa. We've been to, and when I say been there, of course, I mean, I was there teaching. West Palm Beach, upstate New York. What am I forgetting? I'm sure I'm forgetting a few places at the moment, but we've been all around. So anyway, the last 15 years, a lot of marching. And these guys just asked me if I was going to run this weekend's triathlon and bike it and swim it. And I told them it wouldn't be beyond me, but not at this time. The Qigong master is retreating a little bit to recover some Qi before next year starts, because every year I know some of what's coming, and I know there's a lot of other things that are probably coming that I don't know are coming. And it's good to conserve your energy. And when you stop losing your creative forces and juices, and you seem to be like when you're doing something that keeps kind of putting you up against the wall, it's very tempting for people like me who do jujitsu and karate to like punch the wall, or, you know, not necessarily all freaking out in anger, but punch the wall, kick the wall, go through the wall, go under the wall, go over the wall, that type of thing. But as I'm becoming perhaps a little wiser and maybe a little bit older too, I start to look and go, man, I'm pushing on that, I'm pushing on that, I'm pushing on. That's not going anywhere. Like, I think I'm going to go around that, you know? And so even when I wrestle with these young guys and a few gals at jiu-jitsu, you know, who I'm literally twice their age, and they're competing and everything else, they come to wrestle with me, and rather than trying to battle them with rock versus rock, as one of my teachers says, they're rock, I become water. And so it's good to learn how to blend. And sometimes if you try something, I mean, keep doing it, you know, but if you've done it 10 times and you've given a really good effort at it and it's not working, consider going a different direction, because life is maybe trying to tell you something to think about. A little opening, twisting, moving. Let your breath in and out. So one of the concepts within grounding that I want to share with you guys today, it's a little bit different than let's get heavy in our feet and get super grounded and rooted and stuff. We did a little bit of that last week to some degree. I want to focus instead on this idea of being present with whatever is going on in your life, which, depending on how much stuff you take on in your life, I tend to take on quite a bit. Some of you may take on quite a bit. Some of you may take on a little. It's all relative. But the more you take on, the more sort of tasks you have, the challenges that you have, etc., whatever the case may be, they're going to push you, right? And if you start to get pushed, relatively speaking, let's just say too hard, like, I don't know, in the middle of a triathlon or the middle of your life, let's just say I were to take the temperature here and also for those of you at home, we were to turn it up to 110 degrees. How many people would crack? What temperature would you crack at? Would you crack at 82? Would you crack when we got to 90? Would you crack when we got to 101? Or would you crack when we got to 110? Or if we got to 110, would Keith be able to stand there and Carrie be able to stand there, hold their hands above their heads and stay there for 20 minutes, sweating profusely, having some kind of, I don't know, awakening experience, or I don't know, bringing the fire department because somebody's overheated? I don't know, you know, but let's find out. Kevin, turn up the So this is just a metaphor. When the heat gets turned up in your life, what happens to people? Give me some idea of what happens to people. We already know, but give me a word for it. Give me some words. What is it? What happens? Stress. Stress. Give me another word for stress.
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Give me another word for anxiety.
Worry.
Tension, worry. Give me another one. So Taylor, you're in the room. They've turned the temperature up on you. 101, 105. They're making you do some computer stuff, whatever's going on. Now it's 108. It's getting harder. The math is getting harder. Now it's 112. What is the state of mind that might happen there?
And very unfocused.
Unfocused. And now this is, so we're getting this good. All these are good at the answer. Keep going now. As a person is becoming unfocused, and as a person is becoming anxiety ridden and worry ridden and filled with stress, man, it's a troubled person, right? But okay, so you have that person. What is happening? What else have they lost? Have they lost their grounding?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So when you lose your grounding and you're in the middle of all of that other stuff, what else have you lost? One could say you've lost your mind, right? Have you ever heard the phrase, oh man, he's cracking? Oh, check it out. The cadets are about to crack. My grandfather was a drill sergeant, right? So Marine Corps, the cadets are about to crack. Of course, meanwhile, it was just me and my brother. He's about 3 years younger than me. And we were getting the lay of the land from the drill sergeant trained right over here in North Carolina. So anyway, so it's called cracking, guys. Cracking. The dude is cracking. I'm cracking. I feel like I'm going to lose it. When you say you feel like you're going to lose it, what are you going to lose? Your mind. A lot of people say, I'm going to lose my mind. Well, the interesting thing is when you're cracking, haven't you already lost your mind? And now you're afraid that it's going to get worse, right? You've lost your mind. You're cracking. And your worry is it's going to get worse, right? So what do you do right there?
Take a deep breath and ground yourself.
Darn right. Take a deep breath and ground yourself, because if all you do is focus on that, guess what? You're going to amplify the experience. Your mind is going to crack. It is going to get worse, be worse, whatever. So what can you do? Take a deep breath, start practicing some type of practice to ground yourself. This would be one of them right here. Okay? We're going to go into some others. I want to include today a practice of heart-centered practice, because I know I myself need it. I'm sure everybody else needs it too. The world around us on a regular basis is going through phases of cracking. In fact, everyone on the planet is. It's called transformation, and this planet is smack dab in the middle of it. And people are not in their right minds. That means you are also not in your right mind, to whatever degree. Yeah. So some people are further away from themselves than others. And the more you do, the more you sign on for. Sometimes the more challenging it can be to, maybe you can juggle 2 balls, but now all of a sudden you have 6. For whatever reason you decided to take on 6, maybe you got 6, maybe you got 8. It gets more challenging. For me, my practice is serving humanity. That's my practice. Been doing it for many years now, and I got many more to go. And I will tell you, the more you serve and the more you do, like at one, I don't do this now, but I do even more than this. But some of you know I used to work in a locked facility hospital as a therapist with at-risk youth and so on. And the more people you sit with in their pain, their grief, you're healing, you're helping, they're freaking out, they're cracking. Sometimes you need to walk away and you need to take a deep breath. You need to walk away and get grounded. So this other part of the conversation, which Kevin purposefully and rightfully so interrupted me and said, take a deep breath and, get grounded. I'm doing something opposite to that, aren't I? Aren't I talking about all the problems that you have? And aren't I talking about all the problems that the world has, other than I didn't mention war? Okay, now I mentioned war. So now we have all the problems covered. And aren't we practicing a grounding practice right in the middle of it? We are. If you want to get good at your practices of Qigong, using Qigong to get centered in your life and so on, then you have to sometimes go out to the park, and rather than fighting with what's happening in your mind and trying to stop it from happening, just literally start going into this twisting thing. And do your best to think about your body and focus on your body, but at the same time, like, don't try and make any of that other stuff go away. Literally be like, here this is. This is awesome. David would say this is an awesome alchemy right now. This is an awesome opportunity for alchemy, because I feel like crap right now. If you get more specific, you might be angry, you might be sad, you might be grieving, you might be frustrated, you might be in a place of not loving yourself too much. So whatever it is, today, my teaching to you is we're going to breathe into it. So the first thing I'm doing, stirring the pot by talking about it. And I'm also helping to stir the pot by moving the body, twisting the body, which is also stirring the pot. We're then going to bring this information up further. And for those of you that might know this, like, I don't know, maybe the people in the certification program, maybe I should test them right now. Should I test them? People at home, should I test them? Yes, I'll say yes, they're clapping. They're jumping up and down, super excited. If we were to speak in terms of chakras or dantians, either answer is acceptable as long as it's the right answer based on chakras or dantians. In which chakra does the deeper healing begin? Carrie. See, I knew she knew already, so I just immediately went there. Heart. Not that Keith didn't know, but heart. It begins in the heart, which means you have to get your energy up to your what, Carrie? Heart. But if you're distracted and you can't focus and you're not grounded, it's going to be highly unlikely that you're going to be able to get your energy up to your heart. So let me show you some exercises to get grounded, not in a way that we typically talk about becoming like bamboo and rooting your feet into the ground and all of that and overemphasizing that today. Today, I want to actually emphasize coming into your heart space. And this is a selfish practice today because I need it. And it's also a selfless practice because I give it to you. And as I'm talking to you, I'm opening my heart to you and opening my heart to this practice that we're all going to do together. Inhale, exhale. Notice we're doing this a little longer than we usually do. So we're really stirring it and bring it up. Because where do we need to, like, when we think about fear and we think about pain, Keith, where do we typically hold that in the body? Lower dantian. Lower dantian, specifically, go a little lower than lower dantian, and we get root, yes, root chakra. And we also then get lower dantian, which is correct, and specifically the second chakra related to the emotional body. The third chakra, which messes with your digestion and plays out things like self-criticism, criticism of others, damage that's been done to you by people criticizing you. We need to work with those energies. And how many times, Carrie, in the years that I've known you like 5 years, how many times have you heard me tell that exact story right there that I just told?
Many times.
Many times, many times. And you know what? If you know me 15 more years, you're going to hear the same story, because no matter how much you know about the first, second, third chakra, the fourth chakra, the dantians, etc., there is a work that has to be done. And those lower chakras, we have to practice practices that realistically purge them. Because if you don't, then they're stuck up with like oil. And it's very hard for the water being a metaphor for the chi, it's very difficult for the chi to come into that sponge, because the chakra is like a sponge and it's holding that oil. So by doing this practice we're doing right here, see, this is stirring up the root, and it's also moving up through the spine, and then that energy through the spine, that particular channel is called the Tai Chi pole. Goes from some specific points and so on. But mainly it's a column of light that the chakras sit on. As we are stirring this, we're moving that energy upward through the chakras themselves, but then also up through the spine. If you're successful in this, you will elevate not only all kinds of good stuff in your body in general, you'll actually heighten your perception, elevate your consciousness, shift your mood, and fall in love with yourself. You just might. Inhale, exhale. After all that winding, let it stop. Screw your feet into the floor, hold them there, bend the knees slightly. Stay very still. Hold your mind at your feet, because you have all this shakiness, bubbling going on in your body now. Let it all bubble and shake and stir, do whatever it's doing. But meanwhile, you're anchored and you're rooted. Anchored and rooted. If you're not placing your mind in your feet, then there's no chance of being grounded. So you have to place your mind down to your feet, down into the ground, and anchor yourself there. Upper body, without moving it, it takes time to learn how to do it, but you want to learn to relax your upper body as much as possible. You're steadying yourself there just for a moment here. Inhale, exhale. Stay there just a little bit longer. Let that energy come up and through you. Imagine you're a tree in the forest, rooted into the ground. That energy traveling up the legs. Knees, make sure they stay slightly bent. Inhale, exhale. Walk that weird feeling body. I don't know if your body feels weird, mine does. Go ahead and tap out some of that stagnation, blood and chi. Stuff in motion. Tap it out. It's the blood moving. Walk your feet up and down. And a very light pounding. It should not hurt in any way, shape, or form. But I'm not just tiptoeing, not a tiptoe. An actual pounding, a light pounding of the feet on the ground, like you're marching. And then the knees come up and down. And then if you desire, you can let your arms kind of swing also. And is this in general a practice of cardiovascular exercise, like in, I don't know, what do they call it? Aerobics, whatever? Yes, sure. Sure. If we go quicker, especially, right? But this is just a basic Qigong stomping practice. Get out open up those foot chakras, open up the knees, etc. Let some of those poisons go down in the ground. Simultaneously, as you're going up and down here, that calf muscle is pumping blood back up toward your heart. You may feel it. You may feel yourself getting warmer here. and the blood moving back up toward the heart. And you want some of that, especially after doing a stillness practice like that. It will help you recover more quickly and move on to other things. Go back to still. If you desire, reach down lightly and stretch, breathe, hang, anything that feels good. Work with your breath as you're working with your stretch. When you're ready, so you can slowly come up. And if you can balance on one foot and kind of shake your other foot like this, you know, if you need to stop or whatever, that's fine. But you see if you can even do it a couple of times or whatever. If you're better at it, you can this. If you need to, you can kind of just. This is not a martial arts kick. This is shaking off water. With water on my foot, I'm gonna shake the water off. Go to the front, you know. Shake the water off. Shake the water off. If you can, balance with the foot, and you can always use like a support if you needed it, right? But go around, flexing, extending, and going around, and go back the other way. Anything like this that you can do. Later, you can try that by the bed or something. You can't do it while balancing, which is a little more difficult. Same thing, rolling the other foot and ankle. And one more contact. Lightly. Here for a moment. We need on a this here. Make feel a little bit better than the black. So look how you move your hand upward, legs go out a little wider. Put your hands straight up in the air unless you start feeling like you're gonna pass out or something, then set your hands down right away. What? Otherwise, you're here, telling the energy to come up. Inhale, exhale, let the hands drop. Stay there for just a moment. Bring the feet in a little bit. Just put the hands like tossing water here. Chop with your breath. Rub water. Hands up in front like so, holding something up. Thumbs go back. Keep going, open up your chest. So you can't go back any further without hurting yourself. Turn the hands over and come down. Lift. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Slow. And also bring this down to the front. If you have two people on your sides that you're afraid you're going to hit, you can bring it to the front. Oh, wow. Very important here, when your hands go to move upward, you don't want to move your hands, move your body, then move your breath. You're trying to move everything at once. So, for example, if we start from a somewhat bent position, one way to do this would be, as the hands are coming up, you start to go tall in your legs as you're breathing in slow through your nose. You continue breathing in slow through your nose here. Still breathing in slow through your nose. You should be somewhat filled up right there. Hold your breath for a second. Push it down to the lower belly. Turn your hands over. Exhale as you are sinking your weight. Same again. Inhale, we come up. My breath is full. I push it down to the lower belly. I exhale. Breath and hands, same speed. So when you get to the bottom here, you may need to pause for a second. Hands keep moving slow to the middle. Now as the hands come up, I rise up. Left hand will go to the left side here. Right hand can come up slow to the face, a little bit above the head, and wash this arm. Come up on the other side, you're bringing clean energy, chi, good chi, from the dantian that we just built up, and wash. This is the one, you can see a picture of this in my book. I'm standing in a river doing this. Great place to practice it. Those of you that are in Boulder, head down to the river, say hi to it. It's been many years since I've seen it now. Lost. There's a river that comes down from the canyon. Flows pretty good. It's nice. I just went out there in my Qigong pants, climbed right in the river. Started practicing. So one way is your jaws working with the chi. You're going very slow. Your breath is doing whatever your breath is doing. You leave your breath alone. It's one way. And then we move and we start to send our intention this way. Clean, like we're going through the tissues and the bone and cleaning out that shoulder, that arm. Another way is we can inhale here slow through the nose. Hold the breath for a second and exhale. Inhale. That will be a more external version of that practice. Inhale. Both have their benefits. And when you're ready, come back to center with a waterfall. Inhale, so waterfall here. Waterfall energy coming down. Take the hands, go up this way, inhale. Arch, send that energy up your spine. Come up slow, easy, don't hurt your low back. Inhale, arching back to get the breath below the belly button. That's the reason for the arching back. So if you're gonna arch back, be sure you're using your breath and trying to get it down below the belly button. Exhale. Swing one side and come up on the other side. Go around. Swing one side, come up on the other side. Keep the knees bent as you're coming down. Swing to my right, for example, and then I come to my left side and I come right back up. Settle down, swing to my left. I would come right back up on the opposite side, which for me will be the right. If you'd like to try this with the breath, when you're coming down, it's an exhale. When you're coming up, it's an inhale. Inhale through the nose, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Oh. Oh. Come back to center, and then just some type of hang where you're stretching and hanging a little bit. This is very grounding to get down and touch the ground, put your hands on the ground, your feet on the ground. And then when you're ready, whatever's a comfortable way to start to come back up. If you take your left hand, it's good for sciatica, by the way. Take your left hand. Keep this as a frame. When you bend, don't let your frame become like weak. Hold the frame, keep it. From this position, you have to be mindful because it's not a one exercise fits all, and I just go and it works. You have to adjust your body and find the right alignment for what you're trying to stretch. So I've got a nice frame here. From this position, I'm going to first do it with a flat foot. I'm going to put my arm today, I'm going to do it this way, show you some different ways. Here's one way. Arm is going to go straight up. And I'll put my palm, so my palm's like toward the left, something like that. I'm going to bring my arm as close to my ear as I can. And then from this position, I'm going to keep my frame. And I'm going to, this part gets a little tricky, I'll do my best to explain it. If I stay completely square with my waist and I just go, I am not going to get the same thing as if I rotate slightly. So if I'm using my right arm as high, if I pivot my waist where I bring the right hip slightly back and the left hip slightly forward, and now go so that I'm on an angle. And now watch what I'm going to do with this back leg. I'm going to walk it out. I'm going to go on just my toes and or heel. You're going to work with both. You're trying to understand your body's musculature and how can I best elongate this musculature back here, the erectors, the quadratus lumborum, and up here into the lats. You're trying to figure it out, and it'll pull in your hip too. Do it very slow, very mindful. And then once you find the appropriate angle, breathe there. And for those of you that have sciatica, very careful and so on, but you're also looking for those subtle adjustments in the spine. If I stay totally square, I don't know if you can tell, but like right here, I'm square. Watch as I start to shift. And now angle. Getting right inside that pocket along my spine. I'm gonna go back to all the way. And now go that way a little bit slow. But I'm really feeling all that musculature. And then from here, depending on how tight you are, works best for me, elbow first. Hand goes here. That keeps you like more secure, more stable. Then this one's gonna go frame. The frame is one part of it. She gets something just from the frame. But then the arm goes. And it's not just how far can I reach, it's let me see if I can get into that pocket of my low back, side of my low back, my spine. See if I can breathe into it. Because anywhere you don't breathe into, those are the places you're going to have problems in your body. So we try and come back and visit them and breathe to them. Especially when they start talking to us. At least that's how I did it. So if you'll notice here, I'm leaning back now. So not only I'm kind of square, then I'm pushing my pelvis forward, and then I'm leaning my back, and I'm reaching and stretching. And this gives me a different angle than the one that I've had before. And then this is going to come in. And I'm going to reach down carefully. And hold the backs of the knees or the heels. This is actually a good time to even bring it in nice and close. And then as you're ready, walk it out, get a sip of water if you desire. Move your legs and hips around, whatever stiff. Shown you this exercise before, but I'll show it to you again. Those of you that want to play with it, there's different versions and varieties of this. Okay. And just be very careful with your own body. So some of you may start out with something very simple, not very big, like so. We'll move to the chair in a minute. So from this position here, your feet are together, touch your hands, doesn't matter which one's on top. We're going to slide back with the right foot like we're going onto our surfboard. I want to be somewhat turned to the object, whatever it is, and I want to have my feet somewhat staggered. I don't want my feet in the same line because then I'm like tipsy. I need to stagger them apart. And the main thing is just make sure you have good balance. That's the idea. Now, for those of you who have who can't even do that, let's just say you would practice like this, where you're straight here. I'll show that first, and then we'll come back to those of you that are standing like this. So from here, you would just outside, 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 meaning I'm going to my outside, outside. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to go to the outside. So from this position here, if I'm like so, my back leg will come through. It's going to go to the outside, and I'm going to put it back here. So I'm like this, my foot will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This opens up the hips. I'm going to go to this other side, but again, if you're just standing straight, that's fine too. So I go around and come back. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and just tap it for a step there. So those of you going a little bit low, those of you going medium, or whatever, and whatever you call it, would be like the next level. So you have an object like a chair. I'm here with my hands back, same idea, and obviously be careful, go slow, whatever, but you just want to have an object to give you a reference, and it helps you focus. So we'll just do a few more in the air here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna go to the other side of my surfboard. And here we have 1, 2, come back to your balance. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, this is a way to practice that. Tap out your legs. See you last week. So here in this position, hands are touching. When you go back, one of the things that I was talking about that Bruce Lee was a master of was working with breath. So he didn't just go back and take a big inhale. If he did, in martial arts, if someone hit him, that's when you get super winded. So martial artists for thousands of years, who knows how long, and Qigong masters and so on, they figured out to make certain sounds when hitting, breaking, being struck with something. You might even do it naturally if you fell off your bike. And if you didn't do it, the ground will make you do it. But then you can't breathe. So people who understand that will throw their breath and their chi before the contact is made. Okay? And so sounds will be made and so on. And there are modern tennis players. Serena, I think it is, has caught on to this. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I don't know what sound she makes, whatever. But the point is that every time she's making contact, there's a noise being expelled. Every time, every hit. And if you watch those tennis players, that came out of martial arts. That came out of Qigong. That was not happening in tennis in the earlier years. So now you have this happening. One day, baseball players, they'll be like, right? Anyway, like a sword, like a samurai. All right. So anyway, so first sound that we worked on last week was that when you moved back with your stance slowly and you settle, you should be a nice, easy breath here. And then as you go back, in some way you're letting it out. Whatever the sound is, I'll just basically do like an ha sound. So as I go back, the sound and my body settle at the same time. So I'm here and I go, Now, if you at home or here go like this, well, you caught yourself, didn't you? You caught yourself in a moment of no coordination, where you're not coordinating your breath and your body. So you're trying to master that. I mean, who knows how many times I've done this, but over and over and over again. So no matter what's going on, what's happening around you, or even if the floor is slick and I go to move, I realize it's slick, then I'm just going to change my position and use what's around me to solidify my base. When I do that, the breath has to come here. Everybody here, breath. And then we're going to do this back and forth for a moment. We'll go to the other side now. Inhale first. And so this is what we did last week. So in case you missed it, inhale, exhale. Now get a little more. as we settle. Now, another piece that you want to pay attention to. Think about, for just a moment, think about like self-defense. Somebody's coming to attack me. You don't have to do anything, Carrie, but pretend Carrie's coming, right? And I go like this. You see it? What's wrong with this posture? I mean, first of all, I look terrified, right? I look like, I don't know.
Raptor.
Yeah, a velociraptor that's been beat up many times anyway. So point though is that when you're holding positions, right, and you do something with your arm, don't ever just do the position with your arm. Like Taylor, you dance, right? He's been learning this lately. Holding the arm, putting attention into the arm, whatever it is. So when you do this here, for example, let's put our hands like this. Hold this frame. This is Wei Qi. This is protective Wei Qi. Aside from punching, kicking, fighting, this is Wei Qi. You have to have a strong, somewhat rounded field, and it's produced also with the sound. Inhale. Inhale. Now, what I'm doing with my hands in this particular motion, inhale, I'm just making a round, slightly rounded movement. Now, from this position, this is from here, just you're on your surfboard, right? See? From here, put your hand out. You can put it out any way you want. You can, some of you can use it as a target. Most of you probably won't be able to. But so you can hold a fist or a hand. The point is, it's extended with mindfulness. And you're holding there. Probably the easiest one for me to show some of you would be this. Don't kick your hand unless you'd like to, but be careful. And don't fall down. Just reach toward your hand and come back. I'm just going to show you the easiest version first, okay? Ha. Ha, with breath. Make sure, this part's very important. Make sure you have your foundation then. Ha, ha. Ha, ha. See, so when I train this, I even get in 2 breaths. I go. Let's go to this side. Here. First, very basic part. Reach with the hand. Strong foundation. Lift foot, be able to put it back on the floor. Don't kick so high that you can't put your foot back. Ha. 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 Forget about the second one. Unless you really feel coordinated enough to do it. Just get the first one. Ha. 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 And then come here and count. So remember what some martial arts schools use for fighting. Loud sound. Shah, very loud sounds, kicking, punching. What they use for fighting, the reason those hits have so much power with sound is because you're expelling energy. From a medical standpoint, you want to get rid of the bad energy. So from here, this exercise, getting grounded, this first thing getting the ground. Here, throw it away to the sky. Don't fall down. But throw it away to the sky. Oh, now you're grounded. If ever you want to, and you get better at it, you could, like that's what I do. From here, my hand literally becomes a So I'm actually I'm clapping, basically. I'm not really kicking my hand, I'm clapping it. Slick comes up. I go back this side. Hold the hand. And I go back. 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 And I yeah. Now, you've broken up the root. You have stirred the navel center, emotional body. You've exercised some of your willpower. Yeah. That's willpower, third chakra. Now we're going to take that and finish with a meditation to the heart space. Perfect timing. One of the easiest ways I've shown you before, I'll show you again. Because this isn't one of those techniques you go, oh yeah, I learned that. Yeah, I saw that in another seminar. Good. Have you logged 1,000 hours yet? If not, then keep practicing. So bring your hands here. Relax the shoulders as much as possible. Roll the shoulders for a minute. Roll them. Roll them backwards. Roll them backwards. Elbows come in. A very light touch. Find whatever position is comfortable for you to stand in or sit, whatever the case may be. This could be done seated. Standing is harder, has certain benefits to the harder practice, but just an understanding. Hold the hands there gently. With all the work you all just did, this becomes the cherry on top of your cake. It says to your body and your being, take that energy, that dead firewood that I just set on fire that was in my basement. I'll bring it to my heart. Bring that energy to my heart. Most people, and I know from experience because when I opened my heart chakra, yes, I became a healer. Yes, I saw all kinds of colors. Yes, I became even more psychic. Guys, gals, it's been so hard to keep that heart chakra open ever since I opened it. It's an ongoing practice. I didn't open my heart, heal my spine, and become enlightened. Nothing bothers me anymore. So I say that to you because the goal is not to like arrive or something, but it is to have an understanding. At least from my perspective, I knocked on this door for a long time before it will even crack open. I've worked on a lot of people, many people over the years. Everybody's heart chakra, just like mine, super tight, super tight. So we can't just take a crystal, put it here, take our hands, put it here, and expect, I mean, granted, you can do 15 minutes of prayer at your church, and it's going to open your heart to some degree. Absolutely. Anything like that. Simultaneously, this is a door you have to keep knocking on if you want to wake it back up. Because the heart chakra on our planet, the heart chakra on the planet, for the majority, it's called a seal by my masters and teachers, meaning it's sealed shut. Sealed shut. So you can intellectualize spiritually about all kinds of things, but the energy doesn't move toward the heart. What you're doing right now, this moves the energy to the heart. Let's stay here for a few minutes with each other. Whatever it does for you today, visible, not visible, it's all good. Just want you to know what you're up to. Now, opposite of what we did earlier, I want you to think about a person that you love or something you're grateful for. Either one of those will work. If it involves a person, you're grateful for a person, and certain things maybe you're doing with that person or those couple of people. Go ahead and focus on those folks and put a little inner smile on your face. You can also imagine that you're sending them healing energy. Any of those particular methods will work to help you open your heart. You train with me for a while. Maybe you read my book. You know that I like to do things where I hold this posture and then I start to say things like, I offer you love. But then I don't go away. Come back and I say, I offer you light. I offer you joy. I offer you kindness. I offer you compassion. I offer you healing. I offer you peace. And then, let's say maybe you did that for a couple other people, you're holding something in mind. Now come back and do it for yourself. Say it to yourself. I offer you love. I offer you light. I offer you joy. I offer you kindness. I offer you compassion. I offer you peace. Just stay still for a moment, let that go out into the world. Let it also sink into your being. Inhale your breath. Reach your hands up high. If you get dizzy, set them down right away. Sit on the floor if you need to. But hands go up, you're holding. I'm going to count to 10. When we get to 0, you're going to let the hands drop and be still for a moment, or just let that energy go out into the world. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let them very still just for a moment here. Stay still. Watch your breath, breathe it in. When we start to feel that energy, breathe it in. And then breathe it in 2 more times. And then breathe it in 1 more time. All right, so brief conversation. You can stay where you are, gather around a little closer, whatever you want. So this is for everybody to catch on to, however you want to catch on to it. So am I a Qigong teacher? Yeah. Do I teach like, I don't know, 7 different styles of martial arts? Yes. You guys have heard this story before. Do I have a psychology background? Have I been a therapist? Yes. Have I studied molecular cellular biology for 4 years? Yes. Emergency medical technician? Yes. Studied piles of books about Eastern medicine, Western medicine, logged, I don't even know how many hundreds and thousands of hours with masters and teachers and gurus and so on, all with different opinions, different ideas, so on and so on and so forth. I've experimented. I'm an experimenter. Experimented with myself. The Qigong that I teach to you guys, and this isn't to fluff myself in any way, shape, or form. This is just to tell you that, like Bruce Lee or something, it's coming from many angles. If you ever have the hint, for example, which Carrie does, David's Qigong's a little different than some of the other Qigong practices. And some people, they like that. Some people, you know, they run away from me. They don't want anything to do with that. But what is it about? What would I like you to understand about it? One, I am here experimenting, looking to do the most difficult thing that there is to do on the planet, wake myself up. What does that mean, wake myself up? It means heal my spine. It means open my heart. It means be in a state of peace where I don't pick things up from the past anymore. That's what I've ongoingly been working on. I'll keep working on it. I need this. Humanity also needs this. I've often said that it's nice when somebody says, oh, I practice Qigong. I practice Qigong in the park. Great. I practiced Qigong. I went for a run. I went for a swim. I went to the martial arts school and studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I went and studied Jeet Kune Do. And then I came and taught you guys Qigong. So for me, okay, I did one thing. That's great. Good for you. You did that one thing. But the idea is when we practice to have certain core exercises and principles and ideas that we repeat. How many times, Carrie? How many? Thousands of times that we repeat. And we hit them from different angles so that at the end of a session, whether it's a 1 hour session like this or a 16-hour weekend, that you gain momentum that you just cannot get from a little bit here and a little bit there. And not everybody's ready for that, but I just want you to understand that's what I'm always going for. And I'm always going for giving you an experience of waking up a little bit inside yourself. And again, I do this to myself all the time, and I'm doing everything I can to also take humanity with me. As many of you would want to come. Marching, walking, hiking, clearing, praying, chanting, working on people, creating alchemy. And so the more combinations that you do of this is something a teacher of mine said years ago, and this is the last little piece I'll say, is that when you're doing these different angles and you're doing it and you keep doing it, and if there's some consistency, there's no chance for your self-saboteur to come in and stop you. It was like there was no way that my spine was not going to heal. I mean, I couldn't have told you that then, but I can tell you now, looking back. Because so many different angles and approaches coming together, consistency, working with other people, developing that energy and understanding it, and not just, oh yeah, intellectually I know that and I know this, but I hope you hang on to some of these things and you remember some of what we said here today, and I say in the seminars and so on and so forth. Oh, like some people, I guarantee you, some people come to my programs and they go, oh God, here he goes. He's talking about lower dantian again. Oh, he's talking about the lower 3 chakras. Here's the thing. If we're all here for the next 20 years, I guarantee you I'll still be talking about the lower 3 chakras. Do you know why? Because very few of us are even working with them. We're addicted to them. We're stuck in habits with them. We're not mastering them. So if you can master it in any way, shape, or form, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being good enough. It's not being as good as somebody else is. If you're trying with yourself, then you're already making a difference in the world. You're already making a difference in the world because you're making a difference in yourself. Very few people want to take up this march. You know what the masters and gurus have told me when I've gone and sat with them? We, collectively, they'll say, we have called to the people. We've even gone to the United Nations. We have called out so many times to give the teachings and share this with people. Very few come when we call. And then when they come, they go, oh yeah, I've heard that. I know that. Oh, I know this. I know that. I know yoga. I know Qigong. I know martial arts. I know. There's a Suzuki, teacher Suzuki. His last name is Suzuki. Anyway, there's a book called like Beginner's Mind or something like that. Anyway, it was a teaching in Zen. I'm somebody who always has beginner's mind. Like I'll throw away all my black belts, everything. I'll take off the master's robe. I don't care. I'll always come back to beginner's mind. Because if there's a tool or there's a technique or something that I can learn to actually come to that place inside myself that I can heal myself and bring healing to somebody else, I want to do it. And I know all of you guys have that in you, or you wouldn't even be around me. So I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm not really preaching. I'm just hopefully firing you up and motivating you to keep up with your practices and keep having at it, because it's not easy. And but it is there's a mission bigger than me, bigger than you. It includes all of us, and the planet is in the middle of it, is in the throes of it. I've been hearing about what's going on the planet since I was like 18, 20 years old. I started psychically hearing it and channeling it in my head. And the next thing I know, I started meeting people and going to groups, and they said, oh, there's all these changes coming, and earth changes and this, that, the other thing. And we're in it. We're like, man, we're in it. So you guys, you're the change in the world. This is it. When a group gathers together and you start getting more powerful with your connection, and you're making those connections with each other, and you're practicing, and then I don't know, you go teach somebody else, you go tell somebody else, you go share some with your grandma, that energy spreads out. It goes wherever you go. If you're going to the grocery store right now, that's where it's going. If you're going home, that's where it's going. So anyway, keep it up, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And let's as I said, when I started the Qigong class 2 years ago here, I mean, I've been teaching Qigong for 20 years, but as far as the online program during the pandemic, I've been saying this one a lot: be the change that you want to see in the world. Keep being the change that you want to see in the world. That's a Gandhi. I took that one from Gandhi. Thank you, Gandhi. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, David. Bye.
Bye-bye.